5 college friends sat in a canteen, looking for an escape from the usual tourist traps. Goa had lost its charm, and they were searching for a destination that offered a genuine, unscripted thrill. Mayur suggested his ancestral village. It sits right on the edge of Surat, a bustling city, but borders a place with a deeply unsettling reputation, Dumas Beach. Even in broad daylight, locals keep a careful distance from the shoreline. Centuries of wood and bone ash saturated the shoreline here, replacing the natural golden grains with a dense, heavy black sand. This landscape is a direct result of the beach's long history as a primary Hindu cremation ground. Before they agreed to go, Mayur shared a specific rule passed down by his late grandmother. If you ever find yourself at Dumas after dark and you hear a voice call your name from the shadows, you must never turn around. To the group, this morning sounded like the perfect hook for a weekend trip. They treated the local lore as a folklore checklist, planning to visit the beach and leave long before the sun went down. Arriving at Mayur's village on Friday evening, the atmosphere was calm. The scent of dry earth filled the air, and the quiet, mud-walled homes felt entirely separated from the dark history of the nearby coast. That sense of security deepened the next afternoon. When the group arrived at Dumas Beach, it looked ordinary. Families were picnicking, vendors were selling snacks, and children were chasing balloons across the sand. This diagram shows the actual composition of the ground beneath their feet. While normal coastal dirt makes up the base layer, the top section is incredibly loose and dark, mixed with the remnants of centuries of human ash. Stepping on it feels like sinking into a hollow grave. The tourist atmosphere shifted when a local radpecker approached them. Pointing out across the black expanse, he warned the group that the unquiet dead still sleep in the ash, and that the ocean water itself washes away the remains of the deceased. That warning caused a fracture in the group. Ria, Arav, and Neil refused to go any further, but Mayur and Kushal took off their shoes and pushed forward into the restricted zone of the beach. Stepping past the crowds, Mayur and Kushal walked deeper into the silent, restricted zone. They were now moving through the same ash-filled ground where the village's dark history lay buried. Leaving the noise of the crowd behind, the two boys walked until they found an abandoned, crumbling structure. A rusted nameplate on the ruined walls officially marked the territory as the authorized Dumas Beach cremation ground. They lost track of time. The moment the sun dropped below the horizon, the temperature plummeted. They looked back to realize the entire beach had emptied. Every family, vendor, and child had vanished. Panic set in as they tried to retrace their steps in the fading light. But no matter which direction they walked, the shoreline stretched out in front of them, keeping them in a physical, disorienting loop of black sand and cold wind. They reached for their phones to call the friends waiting by the entrance, but the calls dropped. Within seconds, both fully charged batteries drained to zero, shutting down completely in the freezing air. The loss of daylight and the failure of their technology left them stranded. Every modern tool they relied on had been neutralized by the environment. The psychological assault began through the wind. Out of the pitch-black void of the ocean, soft, disembodied voices began calling out to them. First from the water, then from the ruins behind them. The voices became specific. Mayur heard a familiar tone calling his name. It sounded like his grandmother. A woman who had walked into a village field 8 years prior and never returned. A sudden shift hit the atmosphere. The salty ocean breeze was replaced by the thick, overpowering stench of burning wood and searing flesh. Then the growls began. A pack of 10 to 12 ferocious, silent dogs materialized out of the dark, surrounding the boys and advancing from all sides. Backing away, Kushal swung his belt while Mayur grabbed heavy clumps of wet sand and hurled them at the animals. The moment the wet earth struck them, the entire pack vanished into thin air. The vanishing dogs left the boys standing in a silence even more terrifying than the growls. The psychological pressure of the voices had transitioned into a direct physical confrontation. A distant rhythmic chant began echoing across the sand. Ram Nam Satya Hai. This is the traditional chant used while carrying a deceased body to the cremation pyre. The chanting grew louder as a phantom mob appeared out of the blackness, carrying massive, burning wooden logs. With nowhere left to run, the intense heat forced Mayor and Hinshal backward, step by step, into the freezing waves of the Arabian Sea. As water hit their waists, a massive, glowing entity erupted directly out of the dark depths, towering over them and blocking their only escape route. The funeral chants, the barking dogs, the smell of burning flesh, and the glowing entity all converged at once. The sheer weight of the environment exceeded their biological capacity to process it. Unable to withstand the sensory assault, both boys collapsed into the water, unconscious. The next morning, a search party of police and friends scoured the now empty, sunlit expanse of the beach. Far down the shoreline, they found Mayur and Kushal lying at the edge of the water. Their clothes were soaked, their skin coated in the thick black ash of the sand. After being carried back to the village, both boys remained unconscious for hours, racked by violent, dangerous fevers. As the boys recounted the events of the night, the folklore they once dismissed became a series of survival-critical warnings. The stories of the village elders were exact descriptions of what was waiting in the dark. Mayor and Kushal survived the physical trap of the sand, but the psychological effects remain. To this day, Mayor wakes up in the middle of the night to the phantom smell of burning wood.